Good afternoon. Welcome back. Kent Bain with Nine Business Group and Elevate Your Business Chat. We have James joining us today. James, please introduce yourself, first name, last name, because I'm going to butcher it, and your company name, please. And then more importantly, what you do, what makes you unique, what sets you apart from your competition. James, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Kent. Yeah, my name is James Carrigan, president of Contralto Technologies, and we've been incorporated for a couple of years now, myself and my business partner, John. And we're a software consultancy that sort of focuses on cloud native development. So we make apps, we bring them to life. We've already launched one client's startup app. We're working on another, and this is sort of our bread and butter. And more or less, we came together because we wanted to take a developer first approach in terms of like greater flexibility, getting to feel like we had some ownership over some of the code that we were writing, set our own terms, and then use those internal advantages to sort of leverage them into external advantages for our clients to be able to let them sort of build bigger, better, faster. So yeah, that's kind of us in a nutshell.
And do you have a preference as to the types of apps you want to build or types of software? I have one client where it's a mini version of an ERP where it's really about invoicing, accounts payables, receivables. So it's a bit bigger than accounting software, but not quite like SAP. So is there a certain niche or sector you want to focus on?
In terms of application specific, I would say not necessarily in that way, and it's kind of neat to solve different challenges, while again still getting to reuse what we can do. I would say for us, it's more about maybe some of the paradigms that we're using and like the building blocks. If it's something that falls under the tools that we've already written, and naturally I think lots of apps do, that is what really lets us kind of already have momentum. We're stepping on the gas, to go into the project. We're not starting from zero. And so this is things like apps that have users that take payments because we've already got code that does this, and that could describe a lot of things. But what I would say is that, for example, the first app that we built was a B2B app. Our own internal startup that we're working on is B2C. So, it's kind of all over the place in that way. What we focus on is, again, apps that are launching in the cloud. They're built for the cloud. And the reason for this is partially cost, although the cloud can cost you a lot, depending on, what you know about that. We optimize for cost. Like, obviously, we want the client to pay as little as possible. And the real advantage of the cloud is agility and scalability, like having these things baked in so that, instead of worrying about how am I going to reach 1 million users or what dials do I have to turn? What do I even have to change? The app that we built for our first client is sort of ready to go from zero to tens, hundreds of thousands of users really without anything at all because it's built on these serverless scalable technologies. And so things that kind of fit into that box are a good starting point. And I would say that would be something that we'd be the most excited about because, again, we can bring the most of our force to bear on it. So, yeah.
Excellent. You've been at it a couple of years now. Since you started, what has been the biggest challenge? How did you overcome it? And what's the result today?
Okay. So the biggest challenge, I do I only get to pick one?
You go. The floor is
uh,
yours.
uh,
Give us the
uh, uh,
litany.
well, because I was thinking about this and I had a few different things that I was going to pick from, but I would actually say that it was moving from fixed fee to hourly rate consulting. And so this is something that I think like it kind of applies to any business that's consultancy, that's not a product-based thing. And we started fixed fee where we had an hourly rate, but we just, did an estimate, number of hours, right? Maybe some margin, a multiply, whatever. The things that you're going to do to try and make it profitable. Keyword being try, and we came away with money. We had money in the bank left over. I didn't get paid anything for that. John did most of the work, but I ended up doing a fair bit on it. And, it was way less than, of course, what we would have made if we'd just been working, right, at a job. But it was instructive. And then the next thing was also fixed fee that was, again, like not really, I don't think it actually was profitable for us. But that experience was so good for that client that they were happy to accept our way jacked up rate after that, just hourly ongoing forever. And we had to we turned down work to kind of move on to the next thing. And also because at that point we felt that it wasn't going to deliver the client value to give them some of the features that they wanted, because my opinion was that they were better off like launching, releasing, getting feedback from their customers, because this is basically, we built an app soup to nuts for them for an idea that they had. And, so we just went with it. And I said, you should just launch it, learn your lessons, and then we'll see. Like, let's spend your money more wisely. And then again, to me, this always makes sense, because it means that they're willing to come back and spend more money with us. And then we've raised rates since then, even because of inflation and recession, and also because we're more awesome. Like we just, with this idea of always retaining ownership of our tools and processes, not the client app, but some of the building blocks, those things make us go faster and faster, be able to do more. So that was huge, to be able to do that. And one of the outcomes that I think I wasn't really anticipating initially was, not necessarily requiring the kind of locked down SOW, statement of work, or acceptance criteria for like, when is this project done? What do we need to do? If you're hourly, the project is done when the client says it's done, when they don't want to pay you anymore, right? And you could still have a budget, like, okay, it's hourly, we're going to work to this, and then let's work backwards and try and like see what we can do. The reason that we did this is, of course, that for us, like, it costs what it costs. And so if we're going to scare away clients by turning their $100,000 app into 250 just because we don't know, right? And really the problem is that they don't know. If they have an idea, they come to us. How thick is the design sheet? Have they even thought of some of the things that we're going to suggest? And this is what really, I think, illuminated me, was our clients were so happy with our feedback that, again, they were always excited to work with us, because we were delivering like, oh, I didn't think of that. Oh, I didn't think of that. And so that to me says that, like, for us, the design phase, where we're figuring out what we're even going to build, and in some ways, especially in software, it goes on forever, but you have this initial box that you want to say, this is what we're building in. That can change, and it's this give and take between not going totally left field or outside, making sure that the client is getting what they want, but also in putting on guardrails and saying, maybe we don't build this yet, maybe the time to build this is later, maybe we just do a POC of what it looks like, and then we'll go from there, and you can get buy-in from your stakeholder. Again, it depends on a lot of things in terms of like how the client is set up. Are they an enterprise? Are they a small business? And so we've tended to go with SMBs, and I think it works better once you establish trust. And trust is always the key. Like, if you can get the client to trust you, then it means that you can have the buy-in, at least even maybe have the conversation, because lots of times getting to that conversation is the hard part. But it's been great, and again, it works out when the client knows what to expect. They can do easy math, and when they see that we're not running out the clock, and I think for us, when we sit down, we're sitting down and a lot of brain juice is being expended in this time. Like, we're not browsing Facebook or doing anything. And to go back to that flexibility thing, we want to sit down and crush it and then clock out. Like, our target is to work about 30 hours a week, and we've had way bigger weeks than that. But when we have the room to do that and just focus on doing good work, again, I think it's like the value's there, and it just keeps going up. So yeah.
Excellent observations. What is one thing now you wish you would have known when you started in business?
So again, I mean, there's lots of things here, but I think, the biggest thing is that you're starting your business to be profitable, right? No one is starting a business to not be profitable unless it's not for profit, right? And that's a different calculation. But I would say knowing your runway and planning around that, your burn rate, how and the intangible tangibles that come from that, from like, how much buy-in do you have from your spouse, in terms of like doing this? Like, what does your spouse do in terms of supporting your family, if you have one? If you're single, it's a totally different calculation, and so that was interesting, because I happen to been able to sort of have a little more leeway in that way. And so internally, we've been able to defer compensation for me, or whatever, because I believe in the business. And again, also, like, you could believe in it but not be able to have continued belief in it, so to speak. But that, and knowing the factors that kind of sort of sprout out from that, and then saying, okay, from that I can work backwards with, what are the things that I need to do to not go past that runway, right? Just to start to couch it. What does it mean, to make 2,000 versus 5,000 a month? Because maybe the 2,000 enough to just stem the bleed and give you more runway, right? You don't necessarily need to hit all your financial goals to start. So yeah, I think that alone, knowing where the money's going to go, how fast it's going to come in, what it's going to take, do you have a fallback? That gives you the breathing room. And at the same time, when you set the limits, I think lots of people work well on under pressure in that way, where you have to do something, and that part of human ingenuity actually comes from that. And so having something around that that's a burning, little point in your brain, I think it's helpful. Yeah.
It's great. If there was a pirate, a thief in your business, hacking into your systems, walking in your office door, what are they stealing from you?
My phone,
Your
for sure.
phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why would they steal your phone? What's on it? Not that we want to tell anybody to steal your phone, but why is the phone so important? I think we've had that one before.
Two-factor authentication. So if you don't know what that is, most people are probably used to logging into their website with their password and stuff.
Oh, I'm aware of what it is. It's a pain in my ass.
Absolutely, absolutely, it is. It's a pain in everyone's butt. For those who don't, it's another thing beside your password. And so there's two common ways of doing 2FA. One is with just a text message. Probably lots of people do that. Banks still do it and stuff. It's really bad because it's easy to steal numbers and stuff. But for sure, if they have your phone, they've got the second factor. If you can't beat them to port out your number back to another phone and prove who you are, they've got it. And then even without that, the authenticator apps that lots of things use just means that now, and email too, anyway. So that's the thing. You can steal my computer, and there are some two-factor things on there, the email in particular, but the phone has everything. So don't steal
That's
my
a bit
phone.
scary. Yeah, no, I think you're right. It's yeah, okay. You mentioned it earlier, but let's revisit. Maybe you have a tighter definition. What is your definition of a successful business? What does it mean for you to be successful?
So okay, so number one, profitable, and not necessarily wildly profitable. Again, one of the things that we're doing with working less and stuff is just and trying to get a nice rate is just like do good work for clients, and have happy employees and people. We have, I think, ambitious plans for how we want to work with people and let them work and reward them and things, and that there's some interesting conversations and things to be tried for in terms of like getting people to feel like they have buy-in, and that they're not just another hand at a keyboard kind of thing. But beyond that, for us, for sure, happy clients who give word of mouth referrals. I think those two things go hand in hand. If you have happy clients, you will have referrals. All of our clients thus far have been referrals. So we're now working on doing cold outreach and stuff, and so it's been interesting to do that. But to me, that's a good barometer. And then last for us, continually expanding kind of like the scope of our tools, our processes, and our knowledge. I think especially in our industry where things move so fast, part of what we pride ourselves on is not getting left behind and passing those on to clients. And to back up a little bit, where we started with Contralto, what I wanted to do specifically was, I'd worked for some small companies and also some big enterprises and consulted for big enterprises. And I saw a lot of what they were doing, and I understood immediately, being kind of like the focal point of the person writing the code or solving the problems for these enterprises, that we could bring some of this to small businesses, and that they don't necessarily need to be charged an arm and a leg, so to speak. Like, it's a bit of an expensive endeavor. We're not that cheap, but again, the value's there. And I think there's this midpoint where you can very carefully give them some new best of breed stuff that is still maintainable. It's runnable by normal human beings who maybe need some expertise, but it's such a game changer that you kind of don't want to be left behind. So for us, we don't want to be left behind either. And God forbid the business fail, like if that were the case, or we just didn't want to do it anymore, it was too stressful, whatever. For us, the fallback plan is always your fallback plan is only ever you. What can you do? And I have a lot of skills that are valuable to other businesses, and so this is what we do. But to me, this is also a barometer sort of for our employees, is that when we start hiring, we want to give people a great learning experience. So when they come to us, they're not just getting, paid well or happy because we're not overworking them and we treat them like human beings, but like they're learning a lot, like a ton, and now maybe they don't want to stay for us forever. We don't know what anyone's personal growth trajectory is. Wherever you go, you will be more successful just because of what you learned with us.
So it's about the clients, about the team, but also investing in the team to empower them for as much opportunity as they can find. So good for you. I love it. One last question. What do you want to be known for? It's 10 years from now. You're looking back from the mountaintop. What have you built? What's the legacy? What is it you want to be known for?
The mountaintop. Oh man, I love mountaintops. Oh, you know, so I think for us, to summarize, it kind of, again, kind of piggies back on some of the stuff I just said. You know, navigating constantly changing technology. Should you use it? Shouldn't you use it? What's the thing to do? Like, I think there can easily be this mentality of either you're always using the latest and greatest, or we're always 5-10 years behind, so that we're not riding this turbulent roller coaster. And we're in the age of acceleration now. Like, you kind of need to, someone needs to get their head and stick it in the tsunami, right? And just be like, what is actually going on here? That's us. Our head is in the hurricane. We want to be known for solving these really difficult challenges appropriately with the right level of technology. And this takes a lot of like constant refinement, thinking, iteration, self-reflection, to say, like, we're doing something here. Is this actually the right thing? And there's just been so many times that one or other of us has had an idea that we've just said, well, why don't we do it this way? And the other person's like, why? Of course we would do it that way. And I think it's the kind of thing that, again, assembling the right team and doing that, this is what people will look for in the future, to say, these guys aren't just here to sell us, to rack up hours, or to saddle us with a system that we could never run ourselves. They were here to actually help us solve this problem and to hand it off and let us run it ourselves, or, and that's what I want. I don't want to see, a litter of client bodies and projects that went off the rails, or whatever. But in fact, clients that keep coming back to us and giving us referrals. And again, also employees that are like, I loved working there because it was unlike anything else that I'd done in my life. So
Very normal and very applicable. Repeat clients and happy employees. Thank you very much for your time, James. Great answers, been fantastic. And as we go forward, looking forward to hearing the rest of your story. Have a great afternoon.
Awesome. Thanks, Ken.